guys? Welcome back to the Lounge. Bobby D here. I'm going over this video right here just because I think it could be helpful to a lot of people. It kind of brings me back to Trump's right to try. I work construction, but also I've been a nurse for many years as well, and I've worked with a lot of cancer patients and geriatric. I've worked on oncology before. I've worked in med surg. We get a lot of cancer patients through med surg before they can get into oncology, and then of course I've worked ICU. I've worked hospice in geriatric facilities, and so I know a little bit about cancer treatments. I know about high dose vitamin C IV drips. That's something that's being studied. I mean, we know that it's a complementary treatment to radiation and chemotherapy. It seems to make the radiation and chemotherapy much more effective. And in some cases, I have heard of it ending, just obliterating stage 4 cancer, which before, in previous cases, stage 4 cancer was terminal. That's it. You go home and you make your plans, and in many cases lately, and it's so good to see, that's not the case anymore. Even with stage 4, if people are doing other things to try to get treatment outside of what their doctor recommends, because the doctors always recommend chemotherapy, radiation. And this lady right here, she is a cancer surgeon, and so she's used to going in and she cuts out the tumor, then you give it concentrated blasts, and they're specific for radiation blasts, and then chemotherapy. If you've ever known anybody that's gone through chemotherapy, it kicks the shit out of them. I mean, it's just so hard on them. Radiation, we know that's not good for the body, but it beats the hell out of dying. But ivermectin, I took ivermectin during the height of COVID as a prophylactic, so to say. Just because I didn't wear a mask. I didn't do everything they told me to do. I didn't shelter in and all that stuff like that. I just lived my life, and I'm fine. I never got COVID. I never got a vaccine. I never got boosted. None of that stuff. Anyway, this surgeon here is astounded at what she's finding out about ivermectin and cancer. If we've all known somebody that's been affected by cancer, I've had family members that were lost to cancer, including a 2-year-old, not my daughter, but just one of my siblings' daughters, is my niece, and died at 2 years old of neuroblastoma. It's a cancer of the brain. I've had other family members that have died with colon cancer, and then of course my wife has had family members that have died of breast cancer. And anytime we can give hope to somebody that is presumed or deemed terminal, we want to give them that hope, because one of the things that I've always known in the medical field is your attitude and your hope. That's your number one line of defense. Have hope and a positive mental attitude, because then you're not just going to lay down and take it. You're going to fight, and that's how that's the first line of defense in winning. So let's check out what this lady reveals to us. It's quite interesting what ivermectin is doing.
I'll have to say that I was as astonished as anyone might be that ivermectin has potential as an anti-cancer agent. I'm a cancer surgeon. We don't do parasites, okay? We don't do ivermectin. And I was not really even familiar with those people who use ivermectin. And so when, in the early days of COVID, when it became clear that ivermectin was effective in preventing and treating patients with a SARS-CoV-2 infection, I began to be aware, having looked in the literature, that there was 20 years of research showing that ivermectin had great potential in the treatment of cancer. I was introduced to a patient with stage 4 prostate cancer. Had received 2 vaccines, perfectly healthy, marathoner, no history of cancer in the family. 2 months after his second Pfizer shot, he works for the government. He's going to lose his job and his pension if he wasn't vaccinated. He was diagnosed all at once with stage 4 prostate cancer. He tells a very compelling story, melodramatic story about that 24-hour period of time in his life. And he went through the traditional protocols: radiation, chemotherapy, pharmacologic castration, all of it, over a period of 9 months. And then his doctor said,
Listen to this patient's prosthetic specific antigens levels. They're off the chart. It's just a PSA test. Nuts. I mean, had I been this patient's nurse at the time, I would think, okay, well, it's dead.
There's really nothing else we can do. And his name is Paul Mann, and he was like, can't you give me more radiation? No. Can't you give me more chemo? No. Aren't there any other drugs? No. Are there any clinical trials? There's nothing. Hospice. Send for the priest. So a friend of his knew me, and she said, would you give Paul a call? He just needs some moral support, something. So I said, sure. So I began calling him. We spoke about once a week for 3 weeks, and finally, the poor guy was suffering. He had cancer in 11 bones in his body. His right leg was completely swollen, obstructed with tumor. He's miserable. And I said, Paul, I don't know if this is going to help you, but I know it's not going to hurt you. I just can't imagine, based on my judgment and understanding of the scientific literature and all of the work that Drs. Corey and Merrick had done, and others around the world, that ivermectin would hurt you. It might help. I can't say. So he said, I'll give it a try. And he drove to Tennessee, where you could get it without a prescription. P.S. I discovered last night, having dinner with Paul and his wife, Terry, he drove from where he lives in Missouri to Tennessee and paid cash for his ivermectin. That's it. He didn't submit it to an insurance company. He didn't tell anybody back in Missouri, his oncologist. No. His ivermectin prescriptions are listed in his chart. How did that information get from the pharmacy in Tennessee to his chart in Missouri? We don't know. Somebody does. I'd like to know myself.
Just a little tip, guys, and this is what I did. When I got ivermectin, I bought it from a farm supply. Yes, I used horse paste. It is the same thing. I recommend get the apple flavor, because anything else tastes absolutely horrible. Do your dosage calculations. It goes by weight. So you want to you want to look at your weight and the calculations that's on the it's right there on the tube. It's a metered dose. So anybody with a third grade education, they can figure this out. I did it. My wife did it. We did it throughout the whole COVID thing, just to make we just wanted to make sure that we gave ourselves a little bit of insurance. But if you buy something from the farm supply, well, it's not going on your medical charts. I can guarantee you that.
Anyway, he starts taking ivermectin, and he doesn't have any problems with it. And I talk to him every week. And how are you feeling? Well, no change. Next week, maybe a little bit better. I don't know. How's your leg? It's not quite as swollen. How's the pain? Pain everywhere. Maybe a little bit better. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Not getting worse. Not necessarily getting better, not getting worse. Fast forward. 2-month follow-up appointment at the clinic. They didn't expect to see him. Okay, he's like, Paul.
Yeah, you're supposed to be in hospice.
He's feeling a little bit better. They do a PSA, which was off the charts to begin with. And if I'm not mistaken, at the time they randomized him to hospice, I think it was in the hundreds, maybe 700, 800.
What does that mean exactly for the layperson?
Over 4 would be abnormal. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Prostate cells normally secrete a protein, prostate-specific antigen. It's one of the things that they do. Cancer cells that originate in the prostate that are dividing rapidly and growing fast are spitting out PSA, okay? It's not that they're contributing to the body economy in any way. It's just they just want to multiply and divide, and that's the end of the story. And so your PSA levels start to rise, which is a marker, a screening marker. Oh, your PSA was 4, and now it's 8. Let's do a prostate ultrasound, whatever. So PSA can be a screen for the emergence of a tumor, but it can also be used, particularly at high levels, as evidence for cancer, response to cancer, recurrence of cancer. His was, I mean, it's supposed to be, 4, yeah, it's hundreds. Okay, he goes back for his 2-month appointment. It's 1.3. They said, you're in remission. Well, not, complete remission. He still had the bone mets, but you're in like a biochemical remission. Well, that was good news. Slowly, he begins to improve. Less pain, swelling is okay. A lot of other vaccine injuries, however, he's getting better. He's getting better. We're giving him nutritional support and other supplements. He's having TIAs, little mini strokes. But he didn't tell me about that because we were talking about the cancer. But over a period of time,
I think the TIAs were caused. I just happen to know somebody that works for VAERS, and the TIAs, clots, and things like that, they've exploded exponentially due to the vaccines. You can believe it, or you can not believe it. I mean, I won't be having any, that's for sure. But I believe that the TIAs or trans-ischemic attacks, they're basically mini strokes, and I think a TIA is a good thing, because if you have a TIA, and then you have an opportunity to catch a major stroke, before it becomes fatal or debilitating. A TIA is very, they can be very small, and they can come in a series. And then I remember we did I was in the operating room one time, and we were doing it was a guy who was having TIAs, and what they did, and it's a very long name for it, so I won't get into it, but what they do is they cut into your carotid and they remove a massive piece of plaque, or it could be something that's in the brain that just needs some thinners. If you want to know the name of it, though, that's a carotid endarterectomy. It's where they cut into the carotid artery, they clamp it off, they monitor both sides of the brain. You have what's called the circle of Willis up there, and so that it provides enough blood throughout both sides of the brain, courtesy of the circle of Willis, that if you clamp off one side, then it will still get enough blood, and they monitor it, and that gives the surgeon enough time to get in there, cut out the plaque. But we cut out like a 1-inch piece of plaque out of this guy's neck. I could not believe it. It was my first ever carotid endarterectomy that I'd ever sat in on. It was quite interesting, to tell you the truth. But anyway, so this guy's having TIAs due to what appears to be the vaccine.
Asking questions, and I said, "Oh, you're having TIAs." His wife said, "Yeah, having TIAs." I said, "What do the cancer doctors tell you?" Because that's who he's seeing. They say it's not related to my cancer. It's like. So I get a call from his wife one evening. He's in the emergency room. He's had this TIA, whatever it is, catastrophic. And I said, "Paul, what are they doing for you?" And he said, "Well, they did a CAT scan of my head, and they said they don't see anything specific. It's a TIA, and it's not related to my cancer." They send him home. I said, "Did they do anything?" "No." I said, "Well, okay. Call me crazy. I'm a cancer surgeon, but I think you need to see a cardiologist. I think there are things they can do, okay? And of course, I look it up really quickly, and of course there are things. So get him to the cardiologist, get him on blood thinners, no more problems with TIAs, okay? That's an indictment of the healthcare system.
Yeah.
So he's getting...
Low dose enteric-coated aspirin can actually prevent that, guys. I recommend taking one every day. I do.
Getting better. About 9 months later, he's out dancing for 4 hours, 3 nights a week. He gets a head-to-toe rescanning, and 3 of the bone mets are gone. There's no growth of the mets that are there. No new lesions. There's only one hot spot, and that's where he received radiation therapy, and the radiologist really could not distinguish whether that was a tumor hot spot or radiation change. He is doing very well. Now, the vaccine injury is a problem, but the cancer is no longer a problem, except for the fact that it's still there, and we want to get rid of it completely. And he said, he called me from a hockey game, and he said, if I didn't know I have cancer, I would not know I have cancer. That was patient number 1. I was like, that's interesting. A second patient crossed my path. A guy in his 70s who had been losing weight for a year and a half, 40 pounds, not vaccinated, 40-pound weight loss, smoker, drinker, all he does is fish. And he could no longer swallow, and he could hardly talk. And so I got on the phone with him, and I said, Eddie, tell me a little bit about your history and so forth. He knew someone with prostate cancer who had taken Iver-mectin, had cured himself from prostate cancer with that. So Eddie began taking Iver-mectin. I have no idea what the dosing was. He was just taking it. And I gave him some advice about diet and, try and get the weight back on and so on and so forth. Within a couple of weeks, he sounded stronger. Sounded stronger. He could swallow. He had gained 6 pounds. His voice was better. Followed him for the next couple of weeks, maybe another month or so, and I said, Eddie, we need to get a scan. He doesn't have insurance, he doesn't like doctors, whatever. He had been diagnosed in that interval with 2 esophageal tumors, unresectable. Surgeons wouldn't go near it. The doctor said, well, we'll give you chemo and radiation, and Eddie said, no, you're not.
Yeah.
So he takes his Iver-mectin. Maybe about 6 weeks later, I said, Eddie, you need to get a scan. I had to argue with Eddie to get a scan. We got the scan. No tumors. Gone. Gone.
Guys, I mean, Big Pharma would never want you to know anything about this stuff. I mean, that's why you've got mainstream media that calls ivermectin horse dewormer. Of course humans use the same medications that animals use, because we both have hearts, we both have lungs, we both have GI tracts, we both have brains. So yeah, why do you think? Here's the funny thing. They try to make fun of us for using animal medications. Who are these medications tested on? They test them on monkeys, rats, all this stuff like that to find out what the efficacy is, and then they start human trials. But they want to say, oh, you're taking, like Joe Rogan, oh, you're taking horse dewormer. Get the hell out of here. Ivermectin has been taken for years, and what they sell you at the farmer supply, it's the exact same shit that you go to a doctor for to get a prescription. It's just that doctors around here don't like to prescribe for stuff like that because it's a cure. They'd rather sell the treatment because treatments pay off. And hey, let's face facts. If I'm a doctor and say I buy into Moderna stock and Pfizer stock, and they're pushing this stuff off on me. If I had no morals, I'd be thinking about pumping the stock. So I'm gonna prescribe the hell out of it. Whatever they're selling, man. Hey, I got you. Kind of like the all the narcotics that you know that they were prescribing in Florida. You go to Florida, you get any narcotic you want from just about any doctor. I mean, luckily, Pam Bondi, she stopped that crap. But take it upon yourself, do some homework, talk to friends, what I've noticed too is a really good, honest nurse practitioner, they'll tell you a lot. A really good, honest nurse, they'll tell you a lot. And then find a good doctor with a good reputation, but be your own best advocate. I mean, that's the best thing I can tell you to do, because if you're counting on the pharmaceutical companies to help you out, man, don't hold your breath. You'll hold your breath until you die. So anyway, guys, Bobby D here at the lounge. Thanks for joining me again. If you have any comments, drop them below. Please, please, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.